Call now. 8 tapes. That's 1-800-28-TAPES.
Monk's Furniture Warehouse in LaGrange has set the standard for saving, selection, and satisfaction. The Warehouse Way for over 10 years. From all over eastern North Carolina, customers save every day at Monk's Furniture Warehouse.
You come in, and I think you're going to be pleased with the down-home atmosphere that we have there. We've been here 10 years because of the customers that we have. We really appreciate that, and that's what made us successful.
Even after the sale, satisfaction is still the goal, with service from the store that saves you more the Warehouse Way every day. Monk's Furniture Warehouse.
We give good service on our product. If one of our customers has a problem, we want to know about it. When we find out about it, we're going to get them satisfied and get that product taken care of for them.
Monk's Furniture Warehouse in LaGrange. They thank you for your continued patronage for the next 10 years.
And I really want to extend a great appreciation to them for what they've done for us for the past 10 years.
Monk's Furniture Warehouse, Highway 70 between Goldsboro and Kinston at Little Baltimore.
At the Village Inn Pizza Parlor, they use only the finest ingredients available to turn out the best pizza possible. But the best just got better. For a limited time, you can take advantage of Village Inn's Takeout Special. 2 14-inch medium pizzas with 2 toppings on each, plus a 2-liter Pepsi for just $9.99. What a great family value. 2 pizzas, 2 toppings, and a 2-liter Pepsi to go for only $9.99. Village Inn Pizza Parlor, 503 North Berkeley Boulevard, where pizza is always in good taste. There are great deals at Leith Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle, Leith Dodge Isuzu. How about a 1994 Plymouth Colt, just $10,199, or a 94 Jeep Cherokee, only $13,372, or check out the 1994 Isuzu pickup as low as just $97.95. These and hundreds of other great deals now at Leith Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle, Leith Dodge Isuzu. All prices plus tax, tags, and dock fee. Now at Leith Highway 70 West, Goldsboro.
WGBR.
Rush Limbaugh here to remind you that evidence refutes liberalism every time it's tried. I'll prove it to you every day. You be the jury. Hey, Snurdly, Bo, could you ask for somebody to bring down my official Java cup? I didn't have a chance to bring it down here today. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get back to the phones, I want to tackle something here. As you know, I have this program, actually, not me, but this program has been chosen to become a part of the advertising campaign of the Florida Division of Citrus, the Florida Orange Growers. And the minute that was announced, the waves of controversy began, as they always do seem to swirl around me. And I am receiving calls from great people in Florida who are suggesting that the activists there are overwhelming people involved in the decision-making process here and trying to influence their decision to use this program. And a number of people are calling here and writing here on CompuServe and so forth, saying, look, Rush, you got to fight back here. You know, you can't just sit down and you can't just sit. Let me explain this whole situation to you folks. And since so many of you seem to want to do something, I'm going to satisfy your request for the instructions. But before you do anything, I want you to listen very carefully. I want to tell you who the client is. The client, people just like you, they are the Florida orange growers. The state of Florida has not made a decision here. It's a quasi-state agency for a number of reasons that are not worth going into, but basically the Florida orange growers are small family farmers. They work small plots of ground. They grow the best oranges in the world, and those are the oranges that end up in the best orange juice in the world. There are oranges from all over the world, but it is a fact that the best tasting orange juice is made from Florida oranges, and these people who grow these oranges are just like you and they're just like me. They're not bureaucrats, they're not state people, these are not state-run farms, these are private entrepreneurs. And they are the ones who have made this decision. They are the ones who have said, let's advertise part of our budget on the Limbaugh Show, which they've done, and for which we are extremely thrilled and honored and happy. We're happy to be part of what they're doing. Now comes all this usual predictable stuff. The usual suspects come out of the woodwork and make all these protest phone calls, making people think that they are far larger in number than they really are. And then you hear about it. Newspapers in Florida run front-page stories about all this controversy. Let me just tell you how things really work. I got a letter today, a typical letter. I've received many. Rush, you got to give out the phone number down there so people can call and support you, because the only people that are calling are the people that are trying to hurt you. And you gotta give this phone number. That's not the thing to do here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Florida orange growers, the people, they work the soil, the entrepreneurs, the salt of the earth kind of people, the people that make this country work, are firm in their decision. What the best thing you can do, seriously, you know what the best thing you can do is? Don't make one phone call. Doesn't matter. They're firm in their decision. Just go buy some orange juice. Just go out there and rid the shelves of America's grocery stores with orange juice. If you want to make a statement, if you want to respond, if you want to let people know how many of you there are and what you think of this kind of political activism, then what you have to do is affirm the decision of the growers, not with a phone call, but with the purchase of their product. I do. I've got orange juice in my house. There's always a carton there. We have it down at the TV show. We've got it here at the radio show. Orange juice is everywhere. And it ought to be more places. There ought to be more of it everywhere. And that's what you should do. If you really... I do not turn this program over to activists. I'd never say, make a phone call, do this, look up the number. I did it one time to prove to a reporter that I was not the one doing it, and that when I did do it, if you think phone lines get busy now, wait till I do it and I'll shut down a phone system, which we did. We shut down the Capitol Hill phone system for a full hour when I asked people to call. I don't do it. This show is better than that. It's what everybody else does. Everybody else gets involved in these phone calls. And I'm not condemning it. I'm just saying there is a far better way to do it. The objective here, of course, is to continue the sale of Florida orange juice and to expand the market. That's what American business is all about. And these guys are now facing all kinds of competition from neighboring countries and countries which are not so close. And they felt, what better place to advertise our product than America's radio show? Well, that's why I pop buttons. I bust buttons when I hear about that. Burt Reynolds goes on the Tonight Show and cracks some jokes. So what? Let all these people. You can't allow that to get you mad. Just you gotta smile and say, all right, fine, and make sure that there's twice as much orange juice in your refrigerator as there normally is. Make sure you drink it, too, because it is good for you. Now, that's it. That's my response. I'm responding here to a public request that I've been overwhelmed by on CompuServe. That's what I would suggest you do if you want to do something. That's what sends the message. Back in a minute.
You're listening to the EIB Network. In January, the American Spectator opened the floodgates on the Clinton scandals. Now, in the February Spectator, reporter John Corey reveals that as late as 1992, satellites found coded distress signals on the ground from American prisoners of war still alive in Vietnam, and that our government is covering up the evidence. So sensitive are these documents that a Senate committee chaired by a liberal Democrat anxious to normalize relations with Vietnam ordered a report on them destroyed and threatened to wreck the career of anyone who leaked them. Now, the American Spectator leaks them and names the senator who made the threats. Call 800-547-2525 and we'll open your subscription with a bombshell February issue. Plus, we'll send you free the David Brock report on Bill Clinton that shook the nation. Call 800-547-2525. For $34.95, you'll get 12 issues of the American Spectator, starting with our major expose on Vietnam prisoners, plus your free report on the Clinton scandals. Once again, the American Spectator blazes a courageous path in journalism. Call 800-547-2525 today.
Fine-looking automobile, isn't it?
Just looking, thanks.
Just rip that price sticker right off that car. Forget it was ever there.
Then why'd you bother putting it on?
Oh, they're just for show. I can knock 75, 80 cents off your MSRP without even asking my boss.
Well, thanks,
but you got your factory dealer incentives, your dealer rebate, your discount for National Clean Your Aquarium Out Day.
I'd really just like some time to
Did
think
I
about
mention
this.
it was National Wipe Your Feet Day? We got a sale going on.
Hey, could you just stop hassling me?
Well, shoot, if you want that no-hassle stuff, why don't you go on down to Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro? They got no no hassle buying every day.
Where did you say?
Courtesy Buick GMC on Highway 70 East Bypass in Goldsboro. They got no hassle buying on a big selection of Buicks and GMCs.
Well, great. Thanks a lot.
Come on down to Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro. No hassles from the sales staff, no high-pressure negotiating, just the lowest bottom-line prices right on the sticker. No hassle buying at Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro. It's a better, easier way to buy a car.
Hey, did I mention our Fuzzy Dice giveaway?
Need furniture? Need credit? Need them now? Waynesboro Furniture has a plan that will answer those questions and more, with special pay plans for those who need it now, including military E1 and up. Contact Waynesboro Furniture and find out how you can get automatic approval and quick delivery without delay. Living room, dining room, bedroom furniture, and mattresses. Buy now, delivery now, and pay later. Get complete details at Waynesboro Furniture, your mattress outlet, 119 North Center Street, downtown Goldsboro.
The Duke Blue Devils are in a dogfight as they entertain the Cavaliers of Virginia tomorrow night, and WGBR will bring you all the action live. Beginning at 8:30, Duke basketball is brought to you by Western Steer, Lawrence Travel Agency, Crawford Henderson Insurance, Prince Tire Company, Steve's Pizza Place, the Goldsboro Flea Market, and Moffett Oil Company. Can the Wahoos win at Cameron? Find out tomorrow night at 8:30 right here on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
WGBR.
And let's see, we have time. Yes, we do. We have time for one more call before the end of the hour. Michael in Oklahoma City, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Rush.
Yeah, you bet.
From the Center State Dittos.
Great to hear from you, sir.
I have a request.
Yeah, what is it?
Would you please state your rules for caller etiquette again?
I'd be happy to, but may I ask why?
Well,
Are you implying, sir, or am I inferring that some of the callers in this show are not meeting your standards or expectations?
that's correct. You're such a gracious host, and you have so much patience. But sometimes I hear them rambling through 4 or 5 subjects before they get to what they were obviously screened for. And I perceive that they're eating up precious airtime by saying hello to...
Yeah, you know, but you're right. I am a nice guy, and I know what happens when you're on hold on this show. When you're on hold on this show, you hear things discussed long after you called in that you want to put your 2 cents in on, too. I understand the desire, so that's why I'm patient. Well, I'll go through that rule, and if you want to find out what strict enforcement would be like, we'll demonstrate it.
Fine-looking automobile, isn't it?
Just looking, thanks.
Just rip that price sticker right off that car, forget it was ever there.
Then why'd you bother putting it on?
Oh, they're just for show. I can knock 75, 80 cents off your MSRP without even asking my boss.
Well, thanks,
But you got your factory dealer incentives, your dealer rebate, your discount for National Clean Your Aquarium Out Day.
I'd really just like some time to
Did
think
I
about
mention
this.
it was National Wipe Your Feet Day? We got a sale going on.
Hey, could you just stop hassling me?
Well, shoot, if you want that no-hassle stuff, why don't you go on down to Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro? They got no-hassle buying every day.
Where did you say?
Courtesy Buick GMC on Highway 70 East Bypass in Goldsboro. They got no-hassle buying on a big selection of Buicks and GMCs.
Well, great. Thanks a lot.
Come on down to Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro. No hassles from the sales staff, no high-pressure negotiating, just the lowest bottom-line prices right on the sticker. No hassle buying at Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro. It's a better, easier way to buy a car.
Hey, did I mention our Fuzzy Dice giveaway?
WGBR, Goldsboro's very own.
From ABC News, I'm Gary Nunn. A man with his brass in a sling, the Navy's top uniformed officer, requests early retirement so the Navy can finally close, quote, this difficult chapter of the tailhook sex abuse scandal. Admiral Frank Kelso held a news conference at the Pentagon within the hour to say he will retire April 30th, 2 months earlier than first
I
planned.
greatly regret that I did not have the foresight to be able to see that tailhook could occur. In hindsight, I clearly can see that. We need to work harder to be able to understand the changes that are taking place around us and to deal with them in a more in an earlier time than to let us get into a case like tailhook.
Kelso says he believes the issues associated with tailhook were resolved, that the top Pentagon officials backed his integrity and honesty. Kelso says he took the step on his own and had not been asked to resign by Defense Secretary Perry and Secretary of the Navy Dalton. There's been a shooting at a Wendy's restaurant in Tulsa, Oklahoma. No indication about injuries. One report indicates a half dozen people have been hit. A gunman reportedly is no longer inside the restaurant. There's no such thing as moderation today in New Orleans. It is the home stretch of Mardi Gras on this Fat Tuesday. ABC's Russ Wise is standing by live on Bourbon Street. Russ, are you there?
I am, Gary, and you're exactly right. Mardi Gras is in full swing. A few blocks away, major parades are going through massive crowds on Canal Street, and here on Bourbon Street, the party's only getting bigger and wilder as the day goes on. East Mountain's Half-Fast Marching Club just went past me with literally hundreds of people forming a second line behind them. That's an impromptu dance formation which seems to always form around any time there's a parade. And on each side of the street, these bars are busy as they can be. Costumes, of course, are the order of the day. Costumes follow current events, by the way. It's kind of interesting to watch. There are, of course, the clowns and ducks and dogs and bears, but every once in a while, a number of people have decided to come dressed as Lorena Bobbitt.
You're listening to ABC News.
Hi, Tom Bodette from Motel 6, pondering the great mysteries of science. Well, no, I'm not going to synthetically replicate DNA molecules or anything like that. Just trying to figure out why some places charge you 75 cents to make a local phone call. To me, that's something science may never figure out. After all, the only thing you're doing is making a phone call. It's not like you're trying to communicate with alien beings or something. Unless, of course, you call that uncle of yours nobody likes to talk about. Well, the point is, a plain old local phone call ought to be free as air. And at Motel 6, they are. And we won't saddle you with motel service charges on the long-distance calls either. All you pay at Motel 6 is one low price for a clean, comfortable room and a good night's sleep to go along with it. No big science mystery there. Well, I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the photon-generating, electrically agitated filament device on for you. That's a light bulb.
A former Delta Airlines manager claims he was fired for having AIDS. Joseph Sullivan, in a suit scheduled for trial next month in San Mateo County, California, also contends the airline kept a list of employees suspected of having AIDS. Sullivan says during his 13 years, Delta invaded his privacy and fired him 3 years ago in violation of state anti-discrimination laws. Accused serial killer Danny Rawling changes his plea shortly before the start of his trial in Gainesville, Florida today on charges of killing 5 college students. Judge Stan Morris reads the list of crimes to which Rawling pleaded guilty.
I will adjudicate the defendant guilty in count 1 of the indictment.
The prosecutor is pleased with the way things turned out.
The foregoing evidence supports the finding that this plea of guilty is supported by sufficient facts to establish that the defendant, Danny Harold Rawling, is in fact guilty of each and every crime alleged in the indictment, beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable doubt.
4 of the victims were students at the University of Florida, where Craig Fagan is president of Tau Epsilon Phi fraternity.
I think a lot of the students were very concerned that we'd have to go through another huge ordeal, and we bring back a lot of the terrible memories that we all have from 4 years ago. So it's a great relief that he did plead guilty.
Rawling could face execution in the Florida electric chair. A jury will be impaneled to recommend sentence. Wall Street, Dow Jones Industrials now up 16 points at 39.20. This is ABC News.
I was behind in math. I was afraid that I'd say the wrong answers and that the class would laugh.
Molly was on very shaky ground, and she needed help. That's when we brought her to Sylvan. Her grades improved dramatically. I believe it was in 1 quarter they went from a D to a B. I could tell her self-esteem and self-image were just so much different.
I'm not embarrassed because now I know all the answers.
I knew she could do it.
For higher grades tomorrow, call your local Sylvan Learning Center today at 1-800-EDUCATE. That's 1-800-EDUCATE.
For the ABC Information Network, I'm Gary Nunn.
The Duke Blue Devils are in a dogfight as they entertain the Cavaliers of Virginia tomorrow night, and WGBR will bring you all the action live beginning at 8:30. Duke basketball is brought to you by Western Steer, Lawrence Travel Agency, Crawford Henderson Insurance, Prince Tire Company, Steve's Pizza Place, the Goldsboro Flea Market, and Moffett Oil Company. Can the Wahoos win at Cameron? Find out tomorrow night at 8:30 right here on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
A subtropical jet stream should bring streaks and patches of mid and high-level cloudiness across our skies today, but we'll reach rather mild temperatures just the same. Our forecast for this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny. We'll have mild southwesterly winds, highs today 60 to 65. Then tonight, a partly cloudy evening, followed by clearing skies overnight as winds switch around to the northwest, lows 32 to 38. Then for Wednesday, it's back to sunny skies with very little cloud cover, highs tomorrow 56 to 60. I'm Mike Moss at the Weather Center.
By the host on this show are riveting America to their radios. Why? Because America has an unquenchable thirst for information presented in a truthful fashion. And Americans know that this program is about the relentless pursuit and discovery of the truth.
This is a special edition of the Rush Limbaugh program, America Held Hostage. And now, from our studios in New York City, here is Rush Limbaugh.
Thanks, Johnny, and the number of days in the raw deal. Here we go. Today, day 391 for the poor and the middle class and those who face what they think is double taxation of bonuses and commissions. Day 411 for the rich and the dead. There are 1,071 days left for everybody. I know this is depressing. We've added 3 days. You thought there were 3 fewer days. There really are. It's like living 3 days twice. Sorry. It's Kathleen Gleason who's corrected us, and now we think we're correct. It's a good thing. We're only into our second year here. And you're protesting the count, Snerdley? You're protesting. It's not right? Well, if you don't think it's right, if you don't think there's a simple way of doing this, do you know what it is? Okay, how are you going to do it yourself? Self-reliance. What are you going to do? You're going to do one by one since it's... And boy, he is mad. You ought to see his... One by one on every calendar since it started. Okay? This is the kind of thoroughness that I inspire in my staff and associates. Hell-bent to get the right answer. I know, you don't have to live through the extra 3 days. Okay, 800-282-2882 if you would like to be on today's program. Now, we had a call moments ago, just before the end of the last hour, from a guy in Oklahoma City who's beginning to express some complaints about you callers. And I'm always very, very sensitive to complaints. You know, when the listeners complain about themselves, then you've got to start listening. See, what happens most of the time, folks, is eventually the callers or the listeners begin to complain about the host. Note that that is not happening here. What other show have you ever heard it's said where a listener will call the host and say, yeah, I think you better re-instruct the callers? And so I listen very carefully to such observations and criticism. One of the challenges that I give myself in hosting this show, if I may be honest, is my manners. One of the challenges I present myself is I'm a polite person. You are listening to the politest host of a controversial program on the radio today. And we have rules here that are not often stated, but they should probably be stated more frequently than they are, as a result of being not stated often enough. In the process, sometimes people violate the rules, and I do not enforce those rules. And in my quest to be nice and respectful and polite, I sometimes allow callers to deviate, to get away from those areas they claim to have wanted to discuss. And in most cases when that happens, a caller assumes a very bad characteristic. Boring. And boredom is the single greatest fear I have. I do not want this program to be accused of being boring, and sadly, my friends, callers are the greatest risk in that area. So let's review the rules. What makes a good caller on this show? And this is not, I mean, this is my impression my idea of what would make a great caller on any show, but I don't run any show but mine. The other shows have their own ideas. Some shows, for example, don't screen anybody. Just take every call that comes in, C-SPAN, what have you, let everybody, and drone on and whatever, on the basis that it's fair and the First Amendment and democracy and a person's a person. Well, that's not true. This is a benevolent dictatorship. Not all calls are equal. We recognize that some callers are better than others. Some callers are superior than most. Some callers are really very good. And we hope to find as many of those as possible. And as such, a caller has to be articulate. A caller has to be informed. A caller has to have passion. If passion isn't present, or if curiosity, those are the two ingredients, actually, passion and curiosity. The caller has one or both of those, you got a pretty good caller. You got a great caller in some cases. But if you don't have passion, and if you don't have opinion, and if you don't have curiosity, then chances are you're going to have a call that's going to end up sounding as though it's a monotone tone. Now, one of the rules of the game here is that because this show is so tightly screened, 9 out of 10 people who make it through actually never get on the air. They never get past the scrutiny of Bo Snerdley. So if you call Mr. Snerdley and say, I want to talk about the trade war with Japan, Mr. Snerdley will then say, somebody from so-and-so, and on the subject line, it will be trade war with Japan. I take the call based on, I want to talk about that right now. We don't take calls in the order they come in, by the way, either. We take them according to how the show is flowing. So, if I am ready to take the call on the trade war with Japan, and I have to listen to 3 or 4 other things first, you don't see it, but I get frustrated here. And on the intercom, I am chewing out Mr. Snerdley. I am saying, what the hell did you do? Why did you put this away? When is this guy going to get to it? It's because I am not rude or impolite. And the caller, during the last segment of the last hour, is noticing that this is happening quite a bit. And so I'm going to attempt to illustrate what enforcement of this rule would be like. When I do, I guarantee you that some of you are going to think that I'm turning mean and that I'm turning sour, pussed, and all that. But I'm going to begin today new enforcement procedures involving callers sticking to the subject about which they claim to want to discuss, talk. Because that's obviously what the passion is. And then after that, you see, you callers, you gotta use some smarts. Let's say we have a caller up there about the trade war with Japan. And the guy gets on the phone, wants to talk about 3 or 4 other things he's heard discussed on the show while he's been on hold. If I were such a caller, I would get straight, knowing the rules that Mr. Limbaugh has imposed, I would get straight to the topic that Mr. Limbaugh thinks I'm going to talk about, because as a caller, I got to figure Mr. Limbaugh knows, because it's up on his computer. So I get straight to it, and after I have said what I have to say about it, I would then say, Mr. Limbaugh, can I comment on a couple other things I've heard? And chances are, because Mr. Limbaugh's a nice guy, he's going to say, yeah. Right? But if you start out with things other than what you called about, Mr. Limbaugh may get miffed, and you may never know it. Mr. Snerdley certainly will, but you might not. So we're going to try some of these new enforcement procedures. But I must tell you that I find it, I was telling Bob Costas, and this is a portion of the interview that did not make the show. And I was telling him I used to be an insult guy. I used to host a talk show in Kansas City, and I did insult talk. That's what the management wanted. And it was funny, but I didn't like it. I went home every night worried. I went home every night feeling like a heel because of the way I was treating people who didn't deserve to be treated that way, and I didn't think it was that tough. I didn't think it required that much talent to, I'll give you an example. A woman called with inane topics like, when you die, how do you want to go? And a woman called and said, I want to go cheapest and most natural way I can. I said, easy, lady, have your husband put you in a trash bag and throw you in the Missouri River with the rest of the garbage. Hung up on her. Station loved it, management loved it, phone calls rang, how could he be so? And then, of course, the woman called back later to management, I was never going to go again, my friends are never going to go again. I was trying to get an honest answer to a question. She was in tears and said, I'm not cut out for this. And I made a study. I made a study of people in the media who've lasted the longest, who've had long legs, and you can do it yourself, and you can find out that it is not the people who are rude and mean, selfish, outrageous, shock-filled, or whatever. Those people do not last. What's so funny now? Well, they're certainly not going to last on a national stage. You may have certain pockets of the country where the audience wants hate, or where the audience wants to be insulted. I mean, I can't stand up for every pocket corner of this country, but I'm telling you that on a national basis, for a number of reasons, I just guarantee, if Johnny Carson had been the way I'm describing, he wouldn't be around. If Letterman were, look at how Letterman's changed, just moving up 1 hour. Letterman's not nearly the cut-up that he was. So anyway, my point is that I'm a nice guy, really am a nice guy, and it's tough to do this, but I guess it's called tough love. And it's called protecting the universe here. It's called preserving this, the greatest, perhaps, radio show of all time, and keeping it on this always upward plane. So there you have it. Caller made a good suggestion. The process of this, now here's the next complaint that's going to come down the pike. They're going to say, Rush, you know, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. The only substantive issue I've heard you discuss is health care today. You've been saying you were going to talk about the trade wars. I get this, too. My CompuServe mail, you people are lucky that I have a strong constitution, because my CompuServe mail is nothing but 500 people a day telling me, you ought to do this, or you haven't done this enough, or we're losing touch with you. I'm getting so sick of that complaint. You people out there, I think there's a studied, I think there is a campaign being waged by a bunch of computer hackers from the internet and a number of other online services. They're trying, you people are trying to freak me out. I know you are, but it will not work. I have a much tougher skin than you people will ever realize. But all the Rush, you're losing touch. And here's how this stuff manifests itself. I'm going to tell you something, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of people who would love it if I went away. There are a lot of people who would be very happy and pleased if this show somehow, for some reason, ended. And there are a lot of people who attempt to portray or execute psychological ploys. I'm very much aware of this kind of thing. One of the most fun aspects of this show, for example, is when I get back from a weekend to describe what I did. Like last weekend in those sharks, and I thought they might attack swimmers. I actually witnessed that down in Florida. After every one of these little recaps of what I did last night or where I went the day before, the weekend or whatever, there is a predictable barrage. It's just you can go in there. I can tell somebody, log on to CompuServe in my mailbox between 5 and 6 tomorrow, and you'll be able to see a bunch of mail. Rush, you're losing touch. We don't care what you did. Stick to the issues. Now today, I have talked about the show. I've talked about other things. I'm going to get droves of mail. You didn't talk about any issues today. We don't care about any of this. You're losing. The country's too important. You're losing your focus. And frankly, this show just isn't what it used to be to me. And I know you people. I know who you are. And I know the stunt. I know exactly what you're trying to accomplish with this, and it's not working. Because you can send me all the mail you want. And you can give me every opinion you want, but let me tell you something. What has always worked for me is what I want to do. Be it in marriage. Well, that hasn't worked. No. Whatever. Yeah, let me start again. When it has come to business, following my instincts, that's what I rely on. I don't have meetings with somebody every day. Oh, how did that go today on this show? What do you think we could do better tomorrow? That doesn't happen here. It may happen in your company with you, but it doesn't happen with me. It never has. And the last meetings I'm going to have every day are with a bunch of anonymous emailers from various gateways and electronic databases sending me all kinds of mail attempting. You can go ahead. You can continue to try your psych job all you want, but I would suggest you try it on somebody whom it might have some effect on, like Larry King. We will be back after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Oh, goody. Get to tell you about Florida citrus again. Do you know there have been over 500 studies, including 100 studies alone about vitamin C, that point to the helpfulness of citrus? The vitamins and minerals found in Florida orange juice can play an important role in maintaining good health. But you probably think you know that. Researchers at the National Cancer Institute have long maintained that a diet rich in vitamin C can help prevent certain cancers. I bet you may not have known that. Other studies specifically talk to vitamin C's health benefits regarding heart disease and other serious ailments right down to the common cold, and you've probably heard about that. Now, my good friends at the Florida Department of Citrus tell me that our bodies absorb 35% more vitamin C from citrus fruits than from supplements. I'll bet you didn't know that. Now, here's what I'm getting at. 1 6-ounce glass of Florida orange juice is usually enough to satisfy the U.S. recommended daily allowance of vitamin C. But you know how we at the EIB Network, including all of you people, feel about the government's RDA. You need much more. Florida orange juice. You can't beat it.
If you are in business or have children in school, then this message is for you. This is Kevin Trudeau, founder of the American Memory Institute. Imagine you or your children with a virtual photographic memory and being able to remember names and faces, facts and information, telephone numbers, things to do, and more. Students get straight A's with less study time. Call 1-800-862-MEGA and see why over 2 million people have already benefited from the easy-to-learn Mega Memory Home Study course. That's 1-800-862-MEGA. 1-800-862-MEGA.
Good morning,
This is a
Ted.
test. Morning, Larry. WGBR is conducting a test of the emergency broadcast system.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's turning 50 this year.
Son of a gun, the big 5-0.
Yeah, nice party, too. The wives made a big cake, 50 candles.
Whose house?
Well, actually, we all put on party hats, ran out into the woods, and hid behind some trees, Ted.
Don't tell me. Smokey walks by, everybody jumps out and yells, surprise!
Oh, you could have knocked him over with a feather.
I'll bet. Tell me, Larry, what kind of gift do you get a 50-year-old bear who teaches people how to prevent forest fires?
Fuzzy slippers.
Of course. Sounds very nice.
Yeah, well, almost perfect. When we brought out the cake and sang happy birthday, Smokey made a wish and blew out all the candles.
Yeah, so?
Well, then he poured water on them.
Oh?
Yeah, and then he stirred them with a stick, and then he buried them. Well, hey, you know how it is, Ted. Some guys, they just can't leave work at the office.
Celebrate Smokey's 50th birthday. And remember, only you can prevent forest fires. This message brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Advertising Council.
I remember being on duty. They brought in this teenager. He'd been in an accident, lost a lot of blood, multiple lacerations, internal...
At the hospital, they let me stay with Robbie. And you know what I thought about? When we were little and Robbie got the big kids to let me play in their basketball game. It made me cry.
I don't know if my blood saved Robbie, but I give blood every few months, so it could have been mine.
When was the last time you gave blood? The National Blood Resource Education Program.
Hi, I'm Gil Whitten, horticultural expert, inviting you to listen weekend mornings here on WGBR for the National Lawn and Garden Report. Green thumb or not, you'll discover many useful and fascinating facts about your lawn and garden. We'll be here to answer your questions every weekend morning on 1150 WGBR.
WGBR.
For a station list, picture, or to leave your comment, call 1-900-884-RUSH. That's 1-900-884-RUSH. The call is 99 cents a minute.
All right, back to the phones now. And the institution of the enforcement procedures actually being enforced. That means the rules will be enforced. Get to the topic, folks. If you don't get to the topic, you face certain admonishment from me. Coley in Panama City, Florida. Welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program.
Dittos, Rush, from beautiful Panama City Beach, Florida.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to talk about the balanced budget amendment and the whining of America that's going on.
Go ahead, sir.
The Senate panel is going on right now. They're marching Shalala and Panetta and all the wonks that Bill Clinton has in his cabinet up there whining about if the balanced budget amendment goes through, everything's going to be cut.
And
I don't get the read on it. I don't know why the balanced budget is going to take out all these programs without and not ruin the economy. I don't think it'll ruin the economy. Well, they're saying it will.
Well, now here's what they're doing. There are 2 Senate hearings today that are scheduled and are going on now about the balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. What has happened with the American or the U.S. budgetary process is that there's simply, we've explained baseline budgeting to you and current services baseline budgeting to you. There's no common sense whatsoever. If these people do not use any facts and figures from previous years to determine what they're going to spend in succeeding years or in out years. They're just allowed to spend 10 to 12% more this year than they spent last, whether they need to or not. And then when they say, you know, instead of spending the 10 or 12%, we only spent 6%, they claim we cut the budget 6% while increasing it 6%. Now, we've been through all that. What the balanced budget amendment does is what the balanced budget amendments in many states do. It simply requires that the budget be balanced. Now, and this is not just a Democratic problem. There are Republicans who are not really in favor of this because a politician's job, ladies and gentlemen, is spending money. That's what they do. That's why they have so much power. They spend money, they parcel it out, and that means they have to raise it. So raising taxes or other creative ways of generating revenue and then spending it is their prime objective. There has been, since the Reagan administration, a bubbling of young congressmen, an effervescent little group here, combined with some retired congressmen who are Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, and some liberals even, strange as this may sound, who have decided that the only way to balance the budget is by an amendment to the Constitution. Constitutional law to balance the budget. So today, and this thing has gotten some pretty big support, it is furthered along the success track than anybody ever thought that it would be. Because of such knowledge and information I imparted to you last week, unless we get a handle on this, a child born in 1992 will pay an average net tax rate of 82% over his working life. That's what's headed, or that's where we're headed if something isn't done about this. So the administration is sending up Shalala. George Mitchell's against this, by the way. Tom Foley's against this. The president is against this. Everybody is in power. And guess what the primary threat or weapon of threat they're using? Why the American people would have to pay taxes that they never ever thought of paying before in order to get a balanced budget amendment. The American people would never go for it. We would have to raise taxes so high that the American people wouldn't stand for it. Now, this is the ruse that is being employed today, and it's the ruse that will continue to be employed. It's very ironic that this is a group that loves raising taxes, especially on the rich. They just think that they fix the economy because they raise taxes on the rich. And as I pointed out yesterday, if raising taxes is such a great thing, Richard Reeves' Money Magazine story, California's economic depression right now is due to the passage of Proposition 13 20 years ago. Ha ha! The conclusion you have to draw is that we shouldn't have lowered taxes on property in California 20 years ago. Maybe we ought to raise taxes. So Money Magazine's got a cover story which in effect says, raise taxes. We don't need Money Magazine to tell us to raise taxes. We've got the Democratic Party for that. On the one hand, they're telling us we've got to raise taxes, and now you people wouldn't stand for raising taxes. They're not talking about what really needs to happen, and that's get this wild-ass spending authority under control. That's what they fear in a balanced budget amendment, and that's why we ought to proceed with it. Hi, Rush Limbaugh here. You know, a major university recently surveyed over 600 employers as to why job applicants do not get hired. Number one reason, poor communication skills. People do judge us by the words we use, and Verbal Advantage, a complete audio cassette vocabulary program, will give you the word power you need to communicate with authority and flair. To learn more, call now, 1-800-28-TAPES. That's 800-28-TAPES.
This is WGBR News, Goldsboro's very own.
This is Wayne Alley. Goldsboro voters who've been voting at the Precinct 3 polling place in the National Guard Armory will vote in the Wages Building on Royal Avenue in the future, providing the Justice Department gives approval. In other news today, those taking part in the ceremony yesterday in Goldsboro, in which the Dillard Business and Technology Center in Goldsboro was presented a $10,000 grant by the North Carolina Technological Development Authority, included Goldsboro Mayor Hal Plunk. The mayor reminded the audience that 16 years ago, people said the Dillard Business Incubator would never work and made a comparison in an interview.
Compare the remarks that were made 16 years ago in relationship to the Dillard Business and Technology Center, to the Global Transpark that we have in Kinston. People say it will not work, and I think in 16 years they will see what the Global Transpark has done along with what the Dillard Business and Technology Center has done and will do.
Goldsboro Mayor Hal Plunk. The town of Mount Olive's long-standing problem of inflow and infiltration of groundwater into its sanitary sewer system may have the town on the threshold of having to plan a wastewater treatment plant expansion that could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mount Olive Mayor Louis Pate observed that the plant has a daily capacity of 1 million gallons and said every time the town flows above 800,000 gallons a day, that eyebrows are raised in Raleigh.
If we sustain a flow rate of 80% for any length of time, then we will be at that threshold in which we will have to start coming up with some plans for expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. Now, if we can prove that inflow and infiltration is a major contributor to us getting up towards the 80% capacity flow, then we've got to have a plan to attack the inflow and infiltration to get it, prove that we can get it back down below that 80% level.
Mount Olive Mayor Louis Pate. A woman resident in the south end of town told the Mount Olive Town Board in special session last night there are many drainage problems in that end of town. The water stands in street intersections following rainy weather, and some streets are buckling. The mayor and town commissioners say they will visit that area. The Weather Center forecast is up next. It is 27 minutes before the hour. For WGBR News, I'm Wayne Alley.
We'll see the sun dim behind varying amounts of high cloudiness this afternoon, but much brighter conditions should return tomorrow after a dry cold front passes through overnight. The forecast for this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny. We'll look for mild southwesterly winds and highs 60 to